Hello gamers, your ears are in the right place. You're listening to I Never Cast for this episode 1, and we are a podcast dedicated to bringing forth discussions on controversial gaming topics and hopefully putting them to rest. We'll be talking about a lot of different types of microtransactions today and whether or not they are good or bad for gaming, or maybe a bit of both, but we will have that discussion a little later. But before I get to that, let me introduce our guest today, or my co-host, Trelard. Say hello, Trelard.
Hello, people.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. A bit tired on it. I got a puppy last week, so yeah, we're basically it's a bit like a newborn. Gets up every few hours, needs to go out. Just the usual stuff.
Sounds about right. Sounds about right. So is this you only have one pet in the house?
Yes. The last one we had to get him put to sleep last February, so yeah, we just got a new one there last Thursday, so 8 weeks old.
8 weeks old, yes. That's definitely a handful. Probably doesn't leave you a lot of time for gaming, I would assume.
Well, it does when she's sleeping. It's just that doesn't happen all the time.
How long? I think you were saying to me off-cast she sleeps 18 hours a day, is that right?
At that age, yeah, they can sleep up to 18 hours a day, and the rest of the time they're either going to the bathroom, eating, or playing.
Oh my, that sounds
Sounds
like
like a good life, actually.
It does sound like a good life, yeah. Yeah, if I could sleep 18 hours a day, that'd be pretty awesome too. But then that would not leave enough time for gaming, so maybe not. But yeah, let's without further ado, let's just get into the gaming news. And starting off, there's some news about, which doesn't really have anything to do with gaming per se, but MS Paint, Microsoft Paint. What's on the go with that, Trelard?
Well, basically, MS Paint has been a part of Windows ever since Windows began, back with Windows 1.0, way back in 1985. With the Creators Update, Microsoft is planning to completely just remove it, and not offer any support whatsoever for past versions. From what I could tell, they're not going to put a replacement in to replace it. It's got some people up in arms just simply because it was a quick and easy tool to, edit pictures, whether it's to create memes or whatnot, on the cheap without having to pay for stuff like Photoshop. So the fact that they're actually removing this program it's pretty big news as far as the history of Windows goes. Yeah.
Wasn't Microsoft's argument because they already have some kind of Paint program with Windows 10? Like they already have a similar program already?
Well, they still have Paint in there, and I know that because I use it. If they do have another one, I haven't seen it. And as far as I'm aware, they haven't really advertised it.
Yeah, like I think it's a lot more advanced than the regular Paint was, and I think that's the issue, because like you were saying, like the simplicity of the first one where you just want to make a quick picture or a quick meme or something.
Yeah.
I mean it's been around since 1985. That's a very long time, and I used it when I was a kid, and I'm sure you used it when you first started using computers in the 80s too.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so it's did they have a reason for it? Like, what's the main? Why are they doing this?
Just because it's Microsoft. It's they're looking to streamline the whole thing, and that means removing dead weight. But as I said, it's a weird choice for something to remove, because a lot of people do still use it. Yeah. I still use it on occasion to edit pictures or whatever, to crop pictures. But yeah, so it's just bizarre to me.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like if I'm making a YouTube thumbnail or something, that's the first way I do it. So I'll have to figure out a new way to do that. Anything else with that?
No, that pretty much covers that. Just the surprise of it.
Yeah.
It's the big thing.
Caught me. I'm sure caught a lot of people off guard for sure. So there's been a bit of a disaster in regards to events, most specifically in Chicago. When was it? A few days. I don't remember the exact date. I think it was only a few days ago. The Pokemon Go event, Pokemon Go Fest in Chicago. this was an event organized by Niantic, the creators of Pokemon Go. And it was basically this big event to bring all different types of people together who play Pokemon Go, and you can capture Pokemon together. There was cooperative challenges. At the end, it was going to unlock a new legendary Pokemon. I think it was based on whichever team. It was Mystic or whatever the other two were called, Valor and Instinct, and I can't remember them all. But it was designed that whoever won the competition would unlock a certain legendary Pokemon. Anyways, so that was being live streamed all over social media in different areas, but many people were getting very upset. And because of that, the whole event kind of went off the rails. People were getting upset because they could not log on. And similar to when Pokemon Go first came out, like it was a huge sensation. Everyone was super hyped about it. But when it did first come out, there was a huge number of login issues. No one, just trying to catch a Pokemon would freeze your game. Even just trying to log in general would freeze your game. It was just terrible. Anyways, it was almost like a flashback. Like this event was made to celebrate 1 year of the game, and it's almost ironically, it reminded people of the game when it first came out too, because no one could play it. So there was a lot of very upset people. The Niantic CEO came on stage, and people were booing him as he came on stage, and he was just trying to make some jokes, being like, "Oh well, the sun's out today," and everyone started yelling and cursing and swearing at him. Like it was a pretty cringeworthy sight. And people were yelling, "Fix the game!" And, it was just watching. If you Google some videos, it's pretty cringeworthy for sure. And for example, there was a challenge mode, and a woman on stage was telling people to catch the remaining Pokemon. Just whoever catches the remaining Pokemon is going to win this little event. And someone yelled, "We effing can't!" So it's pretty hilarious. So yeah, the presenters are trying to remain upbeat for the whole event, but people were obviously very upset. There was a chant going out saying, "We can't play, we can't play." Yeah. So anyway, Niantic did eventually decide to refund tickets for the event, because a lot of people flew all over the country to get to that event, and so they at least refunded the tickets for that, and they gave the users $100 in Pokecoins, which is nice bit of change there, so you can get a bunch of Pokeballs for that. But yeah. Not the best first anniversary for Niantic, I don't think. Have you played Pokemon Go at all, Trailer?
I played it briefly whenever it was first released, but I don't know, it was one of those things that I played it for about a week and then just got bored with it. Although, if I'd paid money to go to a convention that was very specific in its niche, that this convention actually was, I'd be pissed as well, to be honest. Because, I mean, a lot of those people, because they came from all over the country, they would have booked hotels and made other arrangements. So, even though they're getting their money back for the tickets, they're going to lose out on pretty much everything else surrounding it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's pretty much inexcusable. I mean, they should have expected that they should have allowed enough bandwidth for this, contacted ISPs beforehand, and make sure everything was up and running, like stress tests. I don't mean, maybe obviously there's a lot more to it than they even realized, but yeah, in my opinion, it's kind of inexcusable.
Yeah.
And what this reminds me of remember when Halo Master Chief Collection came out on the Xbox One? That was the combination of Halos 1 to 4.
Yeah. I also remember what the online was like as well.
Oh, man. I bought the game. I came home. Before I bought the game, then I went to Wendy's and got a huge Baconator for myself, large fries, large Coke, a huge bag. I was so pumped to play the game all day and all night. Came home, couldn't get online. And Microsoft had this huge event on Twitch and everything, like the launch event for Master Chief Collection, and like no one could play anything. It's a very similar situation where everyone's paying money to play this game, and it was just not happening. So, yeah, that's pretty not good enough in my opinion, for sure.
Yeah.
But we'll move on from that. We have some news about Dying Light. What's happening with that?
Yeah, anybody who owns Dying Light is now, over the next 12 months, the creators the developers for Dying Light are going to produce 10 new pieces of DLC, and they're going to be completely free. The reason behind this is just simply because even though the game was released 3 years ago, they still have at least 500,000 people a week playing it. So to celebrate that, just free of charge, you're going to get some free DLC. As far as I know, at least one of those is going to be new enemies. So I'm not too sure just how big they're going to make these, but that's a pretty good start. If that was indeed the very first one that they're going to release.
What company makes this game? Any idea?
Now you put me on the spot. I know it. It's on the tip of my tongue.
No, that's all right. But either way, good on them. I mean, that's like, it's not very often you see companies release a ton of DLC for free. Like, I mean, it's pretty. You say the game's been out for 3 years? About 3 years.
It's been out for 3 years, and I've played it. I've got the season pass, so I got the paid DLC in there.
Yeah.
So I mean.
So they do still have paid DLC.
Oh yeah, and it's still being played so much that the devs decided to just give away stuff for free. The developing company and the publisher is Techland.
Techland, okay.
That's the one.
I don't know if I haven't heard of anything else they've made. Are they an indie company? Indie studio?
They've actually come out with a few things like Call of Juarez Gunslinger and the Call of Juarez series. They also did Dead Island.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
I have said that Dying Light is the game that Dead Island should have been.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I played a bit of Dead Island, and I wasn't that impressed with it.
It's not a bad game. It's just, it's clunky, I think is the best word for it.
Could have used a bit more polish, yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah. No, that's awesome. Anytime a company releases anytime a company does something that is very pro-consumer like that, it's very welcoming in the community for sure. Anything else about Dying Light?
No, that's pretty much it. Just that little tidbit about free stuff for people who already own the game.
Yeah, cool.
So if you see it for sale somewhere or on sale, you'll be able to get a bit of extra value out of it.
Cool. For Microsoft fans, or specifically Xbox fans that are looking to purchase an Xbox One X, pre-orders are going to be opening fairly soon, according to Phil Spencer. He said the pre-orders will be opening in the near future, but they don't have a date specifically yet. I myself am likely going to be getting an Xbox One X. I need a new Xbox anyway. I'm a big Xbox fan. However, my Xbox no longer reads discs. So to me, I definitely need to get a new Xbox. I'm just trying to decide if I want to get this an Xbox One S or an Xbox One X. Probably the X, just to kind of future-proof it and eventually get a 4K TV eventually and all that, and I'll be good to go. How about you, Trelard? Are you getting an Xbox One X? Or you have an Xbox, correct?
Yeah, I've got an Xbox One. Honestly, as of now, probably not in the immediate future, but it's definitely something that I would look into probably within the next year or so. It would be something that I would probably upgrade to. I just want to see where pretty much everything's going to be. Is Microsoft going to continue their upgrades like this, or are they coming out with something completely new within the next couple of years? So I'll be keeping my ears to the grind on that one.
Yeah, I think that's on everyone's mind. Like, are they going to come out with a brand new console for the Sony side or Microsoft side, or are they just going to slowly keep steady upgrade? Like, I don't know. That's a whole other discussion, I guess. But I guess you can argue that it's a good thing that they're keeping everything backwards compatible. They're even going way back to the original Xbox now, adding compatibility with the original Xbox games and 360 and Xbox One and now Xbox One X. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
No. Like, I mean, they've definitely got a good business strategy as it is right now, but I just want to see where they plan on taking it.
Right.
Before I commit.
Yeah, it's a good plan for sure. All right. Well, I think we're about ready to get into the topic of the week. So, we are today, in episode 0, we discussed backlogs and how to tackle them, which we went into very in depth, and we had a pretty good conversation about that. And but that topic wasn't that controversial or anything. It was just an overall good gaming topic to get the ball rolling. But today we're going to talk about something a lot more controversial, I should say. And we're going to talk about microtransactions and Are they good or bad? Or are they simply just bad? Or can they be a bit of good and a bit of bad? That's what we're going to discuss today. So I'm assuming all listeners now know what a microtransaction is. But Trelard, what's a simple, bare bones term? What exactly are microtransactions in video games?
Well, basically, they're small chunks of the game that you can buy from within the game itself, whether it be for direct cash or with the game's own currency. And these can stretch from anywhere from plainly cosmetic to things that can severely alter the way the game is played. If it's a multiplayer game, it can potentially destroy whatever community that they have if these transactions aren't in place from the get-go, so people know ahead of time what to expect.
Right. And yeah, I think that's kind of what we're going to be discussing today. Like, there are different kinds of microtransactions. Like, if you're spending money in a game and you're getting something, I don't know if it's good that if you can get something that will alter gameplay, or if it's better just to have something that can make you look cool. And yeah, so I guess we can talk about cosmetic ones first, just to get the ball rolling, I guess. So when we're talking about cosmetic microtransactions, think of a game like Overwatch, which is taking the world by storm. It's a huge game, and there's, 20 characters or something like that. I don't remember how many there are. But each of them has their own skins, and you can have your own different skins per character. And the way to get more skins is by opening loot boxes. And you get loot boxes by leveling up. So after every match, you get a certain amount of experience based on how well you did and if you won the match and all that kind of stuff. But after you get 20,000 experience points, you level up, get a loot box. And you're given skins or voice lines or spray paint that you can spray on walls and stuff like that. So it's all cool stuff, but none of this stuff actually alters the game. It just makes you look cool, and you can choose how you want to look. Do you think these are bad for gaming necessarily?
No, pretty much if someone wants to look good, then that's completely up to them. Me personally, I don't tend to go into cosmetics unless it's something that I think looks absolutely cool. And even then, I think I might have done it once for one game, and it was for like one item. But inherently, it's not bad. Where it starts to get bad is if there's no other way to gain those items.
Mm-hmm.
In WoW, for example, basically they have flying mounts, things that you can actually spawn and you can fly around on them.
Right.
Now, a lot of those are available in game, but there are also a number of them that, again, the mounts all travel the same speed. The only difference is cosmetics, and their Blizzard is selling certain mounts for I think it's $15 or $20 or something like that.
Yeah, I think some of them go up to even $20.
Yeah, so there's no way to gain these from within the game itself. So that is unfair to someone who, because they can never have the chance to gain those things by simply playing the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Which is really frustrating because there are a few mounts that look really cool. And I'll be going around the world, just going around from a certain area, and I'll see someone on a really cool mount. And I'm like, oh man, how do you get that? I'll Google the mount and find out, oh, you can pay $20 and get this on the Blizzard store. I'm like, oh, really? So I find Blizzard almost puts a bit of extra effort into those mounts to make them look really, really cool. Just to get you to buy them, which, in my opinion, is really frustrating.
It is, and especially because it is an MMO that, you're paying $15 a month anyway.
Yeah.
So that's above and beyond what you're actually paying to have the privilege of playing the game.
Yeah. Exactly. If it was a free-to-play MMO, then maybe we could kind of see it from their side or argue it the other way. But I think that we already paid for the base game plus the expansions, and then $15 a month, like you said. So having that added in is a bit much, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. If it was, and I would say that if it was free to play, then I don't see an issue with that, because of course if it's a free to play MMO, you're not charged for anything, but they of course need to have some income to keep the servers active,
Right.
and to allow people to actually continue to play the game for free. So whenever you're actually, the way that I feel about that personally is, if it's in a free to play game, what you're actually doing is just generally just making a donation, but you're getting something back in return for that donation.
Yeah. Which I think is honest. I think that's reasonable personally.
Yeah.
They're supporting the developer, giving them a bit of extra money, and you're getting something in return. So there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion, and yours, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. So lots of games have these cosmetic items, like in WoW, you said the mounts you can buy, skins in Overwatch. But the issue I have with it that I wanted to make note of is in Overwatch, for example, you could pay. I don't remember how much each loot box is. I think it's like $1 or like $2, like $1.99 per loot box or something like that. So you can go out and buy 50 loot boxes, and these loot boxes will give you a ton of skins. You'll probably get a ton of legendary skins, epic skins. But does that take the fun out of the game, do you think? Because like for me, I like grinding in the game and be like, oh, I just need to play a few more games, then I'll hit the next level and I'll get a new loot box. I can't wait to open the loot box. It's going to be awesome. And I might get something really cool. But if I buy like 50 up front with my own money, it almost takes away the fun of the game. Then it's just like, oh, I'm just playing the game and I'm not really grinding for anything else. Like, do you have any opinion on that?
I understand where you're coming from on it, but for me, it depends on what type of grind it is. If it's long, it's tedious, and if it's not extortionate, then really I don't see too much of a problem with it. Whenever you're buying crates and keys, it is a form of gambling as well. So some people might have issues with that, but I'm firmly of the opinion that that's not the developer's problem. That's very much, self-control issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? People taking personal responsibility for the things that they're actually doing online, up to and including, ban these items that are virtual items. They're not real in the sense that you can actually touch them.
Yeah, so not real in a tangible sense.
So, if someone can afford them, honestly, and for that particular case, I don't really have an issue with it. Everybody plays differently, and if all it is just to get something that makes your character look better, that's not going to help that character play better. That's all down to the player themselves.
Right. I do like the point you made about gambling, because you're right. It does come down to the person, because some people have very addictive personalities and some don't at all. But I remember that Blizzard, I think it was a Chinese law. Do you remember reading about this like a few weeks back? It was I think China came out with a law that any game with virtual chance per se, where you pay money to get a virtual item, they have to release the percentages of chance in order to get certain rarity of items. Do you remember that?
Yep. And that one affected Blizzard directly.
So I think they talked about the loot box chance in Overwatch specifically, about what the chance is to get a legendary skin and stuff, just so you know in how many loot boxes you'd have to open in order to obtain one of these rare skins.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good idea. I think they should.
It is a good idea, because it means that people know ahead of time just what to expect going in.
Yeah.
If something has a 1% chance to drop,
yeah,
then
might affect your decision to purchase. Yeah.
Yeah. If they're looking for something that's extremely, extremely rare that they can grind for in the game, or they can spend potentially hundreds, thousands of dollars, that's a choice. And if they want it and they can grind for it, yeah, I don't see an issue with crates and keys in a sense of that, because it comes down to what the person themselves want to do.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I was going to say that too. That I think for strictly just talking about cosmetic ones that we're talking about now, cosmetic crates and stuff and keys, like you were saying, I think it is okay, and it's not necessarily bad for gaming, as long as it doesn't affect gameplay and it's all up to the player themselves. Yeah, so we'll agree on that for sure.
Yeah.
There's some other types of microtransactions that do affect gameplay, as we both know very well. For example, a game like Hearthstone, another game made by Blizzard. So while Overwatch you can pay money to get cosmetic stuff, Hearthstone you don't get cosmetic cards or anything. I don't believe you do, but they give you direct. Yeah, go on.
Just explain quite quickly what Hearthstone actually is, just in case any of our viewers don't.
Oh, sorry. Hearthstone is a card game that is on PC, and you can actually play it on tablet as well, and phones. It's a card game very similar to Magic the Gathering, if anyone is familiar with that. It's just a card game where you make your own decks with virtual cards, and you go up against other players online and try and rank up and build your own decks. It's basically the simple gist of it, I guess. Anything I'm missing with that?
No, you said it far better than I could. That's why I got you to do it.
Okay. So yeah, it's just a competitive card game that some people play very casually, such as myself, and other people almost exclusively play, and they don't play anything else. But the argument I have against this game: can you be a competitive player if you're playing for free? So Hearthstone is a free to play game, and like many free-to-play games, they do include microtransactions. But in this one, it specifically impacts gameplay in the sense that you can pay money to buy booster packs in Hearthstone, each containing 5 cards. And you can use these cards to build your decks. And you use these decks to face other players. So if you spend $100 and buy a ton of booster packs, and you face people online that are beginning rank, chances are you're going to crush them if they've never bought a pack in their lives, and they're just using the starter cards that you're given, right? So in a game like this, can you possibly be a competitive player if you don't spend a dime? If you're just grinding through the game, leveling up, getting a pack every hour or two, rather than spending $100 and getting like 100 packs or whatever the conversion is? Do you think you can be competitive if you don't spend any money?
At this point in the game, no. I know that it's set up in such a way now that they've released so many cards that every once in a while they do deals on them, but that's still tempting to a lot of people to to get 10 decks for like $5 or whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah.
For the people who are just starting,
yeah,
then they're having to play a catch up, because of course their decks are going to be far weaker than someone who has been playing for a while, or someone who has doled out the money to build up these mod decks. So in that sense, yeah, I don't agree with the practice the way it's done, but it is free to play a game. So at the end of it, we really can't complain too much, but so long as there are competitive players and actually players, competitions and things like that,
yeah,
then the only people who are going to be able to play in those competitions effectively are going to be those players who have purchased those cards.
Yeah, exactly. And as Tactic Ops alluded to in the chat, and side note, for those listening on podcast platforms on the audio version, we do broadcast live on twitch.tv/INeverCastForThis, Mondays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to be part of the conversation, you can join us here then. But Tactic Ops just said that using microtransactions in a game like this gives advantage to those that play just for free. Which is true. If you're going to spend money, then you do have the advantage. But is that good for gaming in general? Like, if you were to buy a game back in the late 90s for Nintendo 64, you get a full package game, like I talked about before, Banjo-Kazooie. I love that game. It's just a full packaged game. That's it. and you have the whole game and you're done with it, and you don't have to pay an extra cent for it. But is it a bad practice to introduce a free game, or even a game that maybe you do pay like $20 or $30 for, but then they add these pay to win aspects to it? Like, is this good for gaming, or is it ruining gaming?
It definitely has its good points and its bad points. The bad points are those that basically game the deck against, if to coin a phrase, against people who don't spend the money, who are playing the free version of the game. The problem with free to play is both people who haven't spent a penny and people who have spent a lot play on exactly the same servers. So it's what it's going to come down to is the ratio of just how much of an advantage are people who spend money on these things have over the people who are just starting out in the game, don't have a clue about it, because that can easily destroy you know what I mean, any new incoming players.
Yeah.
They take one look at it and go, well, I'm losing all the time, so why should I play this? It's not fun.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, because it's not like you said, it's not at all friendly to new players, because the amount of cards in the game is crazy. And Hearthstone releases a new expansion pack every 3 or 4 months. I think it's 4 months. And so you can't possibly play, like, the amount of time you'd have to play. You'd probably have to play like over 24 hours a day, which obviously is not possible. You'd have to play so much to grind that many packs, and then by the time you might even get all the cards, a new expansion should be out. Now, I could be wrong. I don't play Hearthstone a lot, so people could probably argue with me against that. But the point is, the amount of time it would take to actually unlock these cards just by playing is next to impossible, I'm thinking. So, like, it really isn't good for new players in that sense. But I know they do have a mode in Hearthstone where they only, in competitive play, I think they only have the most 2 or 3 recent expansions. All the other ones are not used at all, which is good.
Yeah.
So then it kind of puts them out of use, and then but then in the other way you look at it, then you have to buy the new cards in order to play competitively.
Yeah.
And the new sets are like $50 or $60 every time. So is the game really free to play? I don't know. And that brings us to our other discussion about games where you pay for stuff that's pay to win in a game. Like a lot of sports games like NHL and FIFA have these something called Ultimate Team, and you can pay to buy cards, booster packs, and each of these cards is a player, and a player you can put on your team. And you can pay tons and tons of money to get all the best players on your team, and if you have all the best players on your team, chances are, not guaranteed, because chances are you're going to be better than the person you're playing if they've never spent a cent. So that brings it more to the pay to win. But also the fact that FIFA 14 specifically is going to be shutting down soon. So was it EA announced that, Trelard?
Yeah, EA announced it on October 18th. That's going down. So that also leads into the whole point of the people who have paid for cards are going to lose access to pretty much what they've spent their money on in purchasing these cards. So after October 18th, it's going to be completely useless. So just how far, I mean, like, what responsibility do publishers and developers have to their fans who are pumping, I would think, millions at least into a game just to buy these different things and then shut them down?
Yeah.
And by millions, I don't mean individually, just overall. It's big business. But yeah, so where is the line between what the fans can expect and what the publishers, you know what I mean, do? Is there a way to compensate the people who have spent all this money, or, you know what I mean, maybe with a future game in the title, you know what I mean, maybe in FIFA 17 or FIFA 18, whatever it is they're up to now, a way to give them a little something in that game.
I think in those games, I know they did this for NHL because I used to play a lot. I used to stream a lot of NHL back in the day. But I know when the next game came out, if you played a significant amount of Ultimate Team in the previous game, like in NHL 14, for example, in NHL 15, you would have been given a bit of a boost to start you ahead, just because you were a previous player. Now the boost you would get is very small. Like, it's not very much. Like, the amount of money, or not money really, but the amount of time I sunk into Ultimate Team 14, for example, didn't really carry over much to 15. Not significantly at all. So, yeah, but I think that also comes at your own risk. I mean, hopefully, unless you're like a 7-year-old kid who doesn't know anything about this kind of stuff, you're just like, ooh, free cards, I want to get more, like stuff like that. Then, yes, that could be an issue. But I think, like, if you are someone who has access to a credit card, and it is actually your credit card, then yes, I would assume that you know what you're paying for. You realize, like, if you're spending a ton of money in NHL 17 this year, then you know, hopefully, that you're not going to get access to those players next year. And maybe there are people that don't know that. Maybe they think it does continue year after year after year. But I guess that would be something that they hopefully look into before they make the big purchase.
Yeah, before finding out the hard way that it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, for sure. And sticking to the pay-to-win aspect, there's a lot of mobile games that also have this practice as well. Are there any mobile games you can think of, top of your head, that might have this?
Well, the main ones would be along the lines of Candy Crush and things like that.
Yeah.
Although those would be more pay to skip, because, or even games like Clash of Clans, where you can only do things when you have a certain amount of energy or the equivalent of. And once that energy runs out, you either have to wait X amount of time for that to replenish, or you can purchase energy to continue just straight off. Mm-hmm. And we're talking small amounts, and even though it doesn't seem like you're paying that much, if you do that over time, that's going to start adding up, and you're going to be in the hole very easily, at least double digits, if not into the hundreds, very quickly.
Oh, absolutely. I've read so many stories online with, I find it's mostly kids or like 10-year-olds, like around that age, where it's like their mothers or fathers find out that they spent like thousands of dollars on a mobile game, and then they contact the company and try and get their money back and all that. But really, that comes down to the parents just not keeping track of what their kid is doing on their phone. That's my opinion of that. But yeah, it can get carried away, especially in games like Candy Crush, where it's like you start to get addicted to it. You want to keep progressing, and then you run out of lives. You're like, oh, I need to keep going. So it's like you said, the more to pay to skip or pay to continue microtransactions, where in order to keep playing the game, you have to pay money. Like, it seems almost backwards to me.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like a bit of a problem. Another game like that is, I was playing this a while ago, PewDiePie's Tuber Sim game, which I actually was really enjoying at the time. It starts off really fast. You start getting items for you start out as, basically the concept of the game is you start out as the tuber, they call it. They don't want to use the YouTube trademark, I guess. But you're starting out as one of those guys, and then you start in a little room with like a cardboard box or something in a little crap computer, and you move on beyond that, and you start getting more items. But it starts pretty quick. You start getting an item, and you only have to wait like 2 minutes, and then you get another item, you wait 5 minutes, and then it's like 7 minutes. But eventually it goes up to like an hour or 2 hours, and then 5 hours to get like a simple item in the game. And of course, you could pay money to fast forward this process. You could pay, it's called, I think it's just called bucks, I think. You could pay money to purchase these bucks, so and then you could use this virtual currency to fast forward the time. But like, it's just, the game is just a huge time sink, and these kind of games, I think, are, I don't know, I feel like they are an issue, because they shouldn't be around when, like, you want to keep playing their game, and it's almost like they're forcing you away from their game to do something else, when really they should have better means to keep it roped in my opinion.
I would agree with that 100%. The problem is, a lot of those games, and I'm not saying it's Clash of Clans or whatever else, but there's a lot of games out there that don't have much content when you really look at it. But it's the waiting game, and what it is, it's simply playing on people's impatience. At the end of it, instead of waiting, they want it now, 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 now. The other hand, that does come down to personal responsibility and being able to control yourself.
Control is a big thing.
Me games like that, I can play for a short time and then put down because I just get bored with them. I don't fancy paying that much money to basically continue a game. If they had something that was an outright fee, either to buy the game outright and play it untethered, then I could definitely get behind that.
Yeah, I hear you. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think Tactic Ops made another good point there too. He's saying, like, if you're paying money just to speed things up a little bit, it might not necessarily be a bad thing. If you're just speeding things up and because you don't want to wait maybe extended period of time, but it doesn't really give you an advantage over anyone else in a competitive style game, then it might not be a terrible thing. But at the same time, like, I still think that if you're trying to play a game, then you literally have to sit there for half an hour to do something. That's not, to me, that's not even playing a game. That's just literally just twiddling your thumbs so you can come back to it. But maybe the idea behind it too is that when you leave for half an hour, you still have the game on your mind and you can't wait for that half hour to take away so you can come back to the game. Maybe that's the addictive part of it that gets built into our minds or something. I don't know.
We also have another type of game that I have on my phone just because, and they're called idle games. The whole idea is it's something that just runs in the background of the phone and does stuff. You buy upgrades and things like that. You can prestige your progress so that you get a bonus for the next. You start from scratch, but you get like a 2%, 4%, 6% bonus on your earning power from before.
Right.
So that's something that you can come back to. Now, those games do also have usually in-game currencies, whether it's gems or gold bars or whatever it is they're using. But you don't need to use them to actually advance in those games. For the most part. There are some, however, that after a while, it, for all intents and purposes, creates a paywall, which is counterproductive as far as I'm concerned, because they're not offering a way to actually buy the game outright, but they're basically saying, okay, well, you can grind this, but it's going to take you 2-3 weeks to continue.
Right.
Or you can buy this for $15, and you know what I mean. You can continue right away until the next paywall.
Yeah. So definitely...
That's not a good thing.
No, it doesn't really sound like it. Especially when you're locked out for that long. What game did you say that was called?
Like idle games or clicker games, I suppose is.
That's the genre. I didn't know if you had a specific name for.
Oh no! They're just different things like Adventure Tycoon or Adventure Tycoon. I think is the name of the big one that I had on my phone for a long time. Just recently removed it just to make room for new stuff. Yeah. But again, it's just something you can come back to.
Yeah, it's just I can't imagine those kind of games. Go ahead.
Okay, no, go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna say, like, these kind of games, I can't even fathom what it would have been like if these games were around in like the 90s. I mean, I guess the equivalent would have been arcades, where you had to pay quarters to continue or something like that. So I mean, that's a bit different because that's paying to keep the arcade running. So it's a little different. You're paying more to support that, like, them to sustain the overall venue. But like I said before, I miss having a game where if you buy the game, you have the whole game, you can complete the game, and then you're done. Like, I miss those days, but now it seems like games are just being made to rake in as much money as possible.
Well, going back to the arcade thing, you have to remember, though, that you could put a quarter in, or in my case it was 10 pence a piece. You could put the money in and play from start to finish if you were good enough.
That's
and not
true.
have to put any more money in. So that was all based on skill. Usually to get that skill, though, you needed to have played it a bunch of times to actually know what's going on.
Yeah.
But so there was a definite skill thing there, whereas these types of microtransactions that we're talking about today, they're not skill based.
No.
It's either wait or pay money.
Yeah. I like that. It's like pay or get good.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a whole separate category. I actually really like that. That's cool. What other kind of... Yeah, so we've talked about cosmetic microtransactions. We talked about pay to win specifically, and pay to skip, in a sense.
Mm-hmm. And gambling.
And gambling, yeah. Another pay to skip example is Warframe. And for those that don't know, Warframe is a free-to-play game. It's an awesome free-to-play game. I highly recommend it. Like you can play the game 100% without paying any money, and you'll still have to sink tons and tons of hours into it. So I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. And you're basically something called a tenno, I believe, and you're just this. You might be able to explain this better than me, Trelard. But what are you exactly? You're like some kind of not avatar, but you're some kind of mech or something.
That's exactly what you are. You're an avatar. You're a sentient being without form who needs the Warframe to, well, move, I suppose. That's the way I've always looked at it.
Yeah, like
Because
you use the
I don't
Warframe as yourself, but each Warframe is like a different character, almost like a different hero with different powers and with different abilities. And right? Am I right in saying that?
Yep. Basically, So basically, I think the whole idea behind it is you are the you're the mind behind it, controlling like these suits of armor,
right?
With all these different abilities and things that they can actually do.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. So in the game, you're trying to unlock tons and tons of different weapons. There's swords you can get. There's tons of different types of guns. There's snipers. There's machine guns. All sorts of different guns. But in order to get the guns, you need to find the materials on different maps and use these materials to actually craft the weapons. But when you actually start crafting the weapon, you have to wait like 12 hours or something before the weapon is completed. So it's like you're putting it into a forge, and then the forge is taking time to actually make the weapon. Now, while it's making the weapon, you're not stuck waiting there. Like you can go make other weapons, or you can use the weapons you already have and level up the weapons you have and progress them up to max level. Get different modifications that you can add to the weapons to make them super powerful and stuff. So when you were actually building a new weapon, or you're building a brand new Warframe, you don't need to wait for it. Yet you do have to wait for them to finish, but you don't need to sit there and wait for it to finish, if that makes any sense. Like you can go out and do all sorts of different stuff. So to me, that's totally fine. If you want to pay money, real money, you can to speed up the process. So rather than wait 12 hours, you can buy the in-game currency. I don't remember what the exact conversion is now, but you can spend that money and bypass the grind of building these weapons and just build them instantly, which if that's what you want to do, then to me that's totally fine. And it's a free to play game. Now if the game costs $60 to begin with and then they're asking you to pay money on top of that, then I probably would have an issue with it. But it's a free to play game. They need to make their money. They can't give the whole game out for free. So to me that's not an issue. What do you think about that, Trelard?
Yeah, basically, the thing with purchasing things in those games, a lot of those free-to-play games, is you're having to buy a pseudo-currency, a currency within the game itself that doesn't have any specific. It doesn't have any specific value to the real world. So what's happening here is you're spending money on this currency, and this currency is being used to buy these things, but they're not actually putting what the actual value of those items are in real world money. So, I mean, why hide it? One of the main instigators for this that I can personally attest to is the Old Republic, another MMO which uses cartel coins. So they use these, the value of the items themselves after you've purchased this currency isn't made available to you immediately. And also on top of that, you also have the awkward pricing. So if, say, the lowest tier you can get, I'm not even too sure what it is now, but say it's 150 just for argument's sake, cartel coins. And to buy the lowest item is 100. But to buy the next item up, it's 200. So if you buy the 100 coin item, you're still left with 50 coins. But you can't spend it on anything just specifically because you don't have enough. So you either need to pay more to get the next tier of things up, or just let it just sit there and rot.
Yeah. So it's almost enticing you to just spend a little bit more so that you can top that up.
Yeah.
So you're saying in the game when it doesn't tell you how much it costs for this currency?
In real world money.
So, okay, so if you're playing the Old Republic and you want to buy these coins...
Mm-hmm.
How does it work?
Okay, X amount of coins for X amount of real world money. Now, you can have a rough estimate, but you're still not 100% sure of just what the intrinsic value of it is, because you're paying for it with this pseudo currency.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. I thought you were saying that you buy it, but it's not telling you how much real money you're spending on it.
Oh, no, sorry.
So $1,000 is gone from your bank account.
No, I was referring to after the fact that you've actually made the purchase of the coin.
Right. It's just you don't know
how
how much
with that coin.
Yes. So you're not sure how much 150 of those coins are actually worth in the game world, essentially.
Yes.
Right. Okay. I got you now. Yeah, but for sure, and like you don't know if you're spending $10 on that many coins. Like, really, are you getting anything of worthy value for that? Right. So, but I guess it'd be a good idea to look on the store and figure out what you can buy before you buy these coins. It's probably a smart thing to do.
Yeah, it's. It's for me that's bad business. If it was up to me, there wouldn't be all these pseudo currencies. It would be real world money. Okay, so you're paying this to get this, and that's it. There's no extra step of having to use what you bought to buy something else.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah. There's also. Is there anything else you want to say about Old Republic specifically?
No. And I was just using those as an example. I'm sure there's a lot more games out there that. In fact, there are a lot more games out there that do the same thing.
Right. Yeah, for sure. But there's also the we were talking about this off stream as well. The pay to enhance system. So what we mean by that is you play either whether it's a free, more specifically in free to play. There's games such as Path of Exile, and for those that don't know what Path of Exile is, that game is it's similar to Diablo. It was essentially came from Diablo in that sense, but it's a free to play version of it, and it's more, instead of like Diablo 3, for those that are familiar, it's more similar to Diablo 2. It goes back to the roots where it actually has a bunch of skill trees and Trelard, you know much more about this game than I do. I've only played it a little bit.
Yeah, the big thing about Path of Exile is, for the most part, most of the things that you can buy on it are purely cosmetic. So it's up to you whether or not to buy it. The only purchase that I ever made with Path of Exile was specifically extra inventory space. It's more quality of life. You don't need it, but it's there just in case, you know what I mean, you want to carry more stuff around with you. And that's... For me, it was worth it, and plus they had a sale on that weekend, and that's why I took advantage of it, because I did enjoy playing Path of Exile. It's totally free, and up to and including on August 4th, they're releasing another 6 acts on top of the 4 acts that are out now. So, you're definitely getting value there for, if you don't spend a penny, you're getting an awesome gaming experience as far as storyline, and as long as you don't mind graphics that are better looking than Diablo 2, but some people would argue not as good as Diablo 3. I would argue the opposite, just simply because it's not a cartoony looking game.
Right. But yeah, for sure, if there's a free-to-play game and the game itself is solid, you can play the game start to finish without paying a cent, and the game is just a solid package, right? And you can play through it, then I have no problem paying a bit of money into the game to support the developer. So like you said, just buying a couple extra stash slots so you can hold a bit more gear, or get an extra few bags or something like that in a game of similar value. Just get something that enhances your game. That's why we were saying pay to enhance. Just getting something that makes the game a little bit better for yourself, but is certainly not necessary. And I think that's great for a game that is free to play, in my opinion. Now, if you're doing the same thing, but if Path of Exile originally cost $60 and they had this, how would you feel about that?
I would probably be a bit more apprehensive with spending the money for those slots, the inventory slots, and I would feel probably repelled in purchasing any of the cosmetic slots. As it is now, the cosmetic stuff, it's something I can, I can briskly live without. That's me personally. If they had something really cool, I might look into just seeing how much it was and picking it up. But having to pay beforehand and then paying for things that should be in the game as it is,
yeah,
that's where I draw the line.
Yeah, exactly. In a game like World of Warcraft, which we talk about a lot on the show because we both have a deep history in that game, but like in World of Warcraft, I really like it because you pay the $15 a month and you have to earn everything you get. Except, like we were talking about before, the mounts you could pay $20 for and stuff like that. But that's purely cosmetic. As far as I know, there's nothing in World of Warcraft that you can pay real money for to enhance your game at all. Like, everything you get, you earn. Am I wrong? Am I right in saying that?
Not quite. What do you call them? The WoW coins or Blizzard coins? I can't remember
the WoW tokens.
Tokens that you can use to get, or to buy for real money, put up in the auction house and get in-game gold.
That's
back for it.
Yep, I stand corrected. You were completely right about that.
I know that because I did that once.
Yeah, which isn't necessarily a terrible thing because you can buy the WoW token and almost make money off that in the game. And by making money, if you made a lot of extra money with that, like kind of the rich get richer philosophy, you can actually pay gold to never pay a subscription fee in the game, which is actually pretty cool.
Because that's the other thing the token can be used for is 30 days of game time.
Yeah. So it goes both ways. You can spend gold to buy a WoW token and then play for free, or you can pay real money to get one of these WoW tokens and sell it for in-game gold. So yeah. So for the most part in World of Warcraft, if you're trying to get better in the game, get better gear, you have to actually play the game. Now there is some loot you can buy on the auction house, and then yes, if you paid real money to get all that gold, then you can buy a bunch of bind on equipped gear and make yourself better, which I didn't really think about until now, and now I'm kind of angry. But but no, for the most part, to be the best in the game, no, you can't pay real money to clear high-end raids and all that kind of stuff.
No. But
yeah, like for the most part, a game like that is you actually have to grind through it and play it, which I like a lot. But if World of Warcraft was a free-to-play game, then maybe it'd be a little different. Maybe you could pay a little bit of money to get some extra stash slots or bags or something like that.
Yeah.
It'd be different for sure. So we've discussed cosmetic and pay-to-win, the pseudo-currencies like in the Old Republic and almost similar to WoW tokens in a way. Free to play MMOs. Did we talk about that much? I don't think. Is there anything we can say about that?
I'm not sure. Like, I mean, we can talk about the account buffs that you can get for technically not subscribing, but you know what I mean.
Right.
You're paying
yes.
the same as a monthly subscription. A good example for that is a game I'm actually playing right now, and it's Secret World Legends. It's basically it's the secret world, but it's a slightly different version of it. And what they did was they changed the combat system and upgraded the graphics. I just touched up the graphics a bit, but they have a thing that it's completely free to play. You don't have to spend a penny, but if you spend $15 a month, which is pretty much the average these days for a monthly fee in most MMOs anyway, paid or not, you get certain buffs, like for example a 30% XP buff, or the fast travel system that's in the Secret World Legends. It can cost you in-game currency, or if you pay this, it's called a patron status. You can actually use this fast travel for free. Another thing is there's daily login bonuses, so you get things if you log in every day. But if you pay the monthly fee, the $15, every day you get a cash key to open up in-game crates. You get one of those a day for free. The only other way to get those, I believe, I may be wrong. If I am, someone can correct me. But the only other way to buy it or to open those crates is to get the keys from the store, which you can only get by paying real money for.
Okay, so you could either pay the subscription and get these free keys, or if you didn't want to pay the subscription, you could maybe just buy a handful of keys separately as an upfront cost, and then you could use those keys if you wanted to. So that's similar to the pay to enhance system, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
Sense it's certainly not necessary, but if you're really, really enjoying the game and you want to support the developer, why not spend $15 a month, which an average MMO costs anyway, and support the developer and get a few extra perks?
Exactly, and that's, because they've now gone. Now, I did purchase the original Secret World. I got it in a Steam sale or whatever, but it was now, because they've made all the DLC free as well. It's a completely free to play model, so all the DLC that they've released and all future DLC is going to be free. So for that, yeah, I can justify spending the monthly fee on it.
Yeah, that's definitely a good idea. Yeah, anything that's anytime the companies are pro-consumer, I mean, that's rare these days, but it's great, and it's certainly something that needs to be a more common trend, I think.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if we have a verdict today or not, but what do you think? Like, would it be best if microtransactions were eradicated from gaming entirely and we just get full packaged games every time? Or do you think the free-to-pay model fits and it's fine to have a few microtransactions? Or do you have an opinion? Or an overall opinion, I should say?
Well, you know me, I'm definitely pro-capitalist. So, so for the most part, I would agree with it. For me, if a game was pay to win, and it was to the degree that you were getting items that were head and shoulders above anything that you could gain in the game legitimately by playing it, then I just simply wouldn't play it. And it definitely wouldn't stay on my radar.
Would you say a game like Hearthstone is in that category?
Somewhat, yes. Just because it's the grind that you need to go through to get those to get the things that you need for those cards.
Yeah,
it can be a hard slog. It can be not a hard slog, but it can be a long slog. I mean, it comes down to how much people value their time.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, I'm not going to play a game where if I have to spend, 100 hours just to get up to the next level,
yeah,
then that's not worth my time personally. I'm not saying that's the same for everybody. It definitely has its place.
Yeah, and everyone everyone values their time differently. Some people love grinding over and over and over, playing the same game, and that's what they want to do. Whereas other people like yourself and myself like to play a variety of different games. So spending that much time on one game just isn't realistic.
But on the other hand, you have things like cosmetics and things like that. And honestly, I don't have too much of a problem with that. If the issue is there, then basically, you know what I mean? Like if the item's there and somebody wants it and they want to look good, go for it. Knock yourself out. I don't have to do it, and you know what I mean. Nobody's making them do it.
Yeah.
So it definitely, microtransactions as a whole, I think has a place. It's just, and I think that if it's too overbearing for whatever specific game it's being implemented in, then over time the fans are just gonna, you know what I mean. It's going to become stagnant, and we're going to become a moot point when the game shuts down.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that too. Where people just start getting really upset that they have to keep paying all this money just to stay relevant in the game. And like you said too, it comes to new players. If new players come into a game and they find that they start playing and they're having fun, but then they realize that everyone else is light years ahead of them because they've spent thousands of dollars on the game, like that's not at all enticing for a new player unless they're wealthy to begin with, which that could be the case. But even then, it certainly is not friendly to new players.
No. So, but yeah, I think my general view on it is it definitely has its place. It's how it's implemented that can cause issues, especially for the gaming industry as a whole.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I like the way you put that. They do have their place. There are places that I think they do work, and the way where they work, I would say a game like Overwatch, or a game, or even MOBAs. We didn't really talk much about MOBAs today, but like League of Legends or Heroes of the Storm or Dota 2, like those kind of games just have purely cosmetic bonuses where you can just have a cool skin or a cool weapon or something like that, but it doesn't change how you play, it's just how you look. So I think if someone wants to pay, and those games are free, besides Overwatch, those MOBAs are free to play. So if you want to spend a couple dollars to support the developer and just make yourself look cool, why stop anyone from doing that? Like, to me, that's 100% totally fine. I think that's a great thing to do. For me personally, in games with loot crates, such as Overwatch, to me it almost takes a bit of fun out of the game because I like I'm level 80 now or something like that. So every level you open a loot box. So I've had, 80 loot boxes, I guess now. But if I had bought 80 loot boxes up front, that would have taken a lot of fun away from me, and maybe I only would have played till level 20. Now, the gameplay is awesome. Like, I love the gameplay. I know you disagree with me on that. I know you're not a huge fan of it, Trelard, but for me, I like the game of Overwatch. And the game itself has longevity outside of the loot crates. But I think having the loot crates adds a little bit of an extra boost to wanting to continue, and almost like the addictive part of it to me. So I have yet to buy a loot box, and the game was $40 to begin with. So, I mean, I already spent the money on that. I don't need to spend any more beyond that, in my opinion. So I wouldn't want to take away the fun, so I wouldn't buy any skins in that sense. But overall, yes, I think they do definitely have their place. I do not like pay to win games, and like I've tried getting into Hearthstone several times, but I just can't because I start playing people and they throw legendary after legendary at me, and I can't compete. It's impossible to compete because I have little 1/1 crap chickens that don't do anything. Like, it's pretty crazy. Yeah. And but yeah, I think they do have their place, like you said, but overall they need to be implemented properly. I think that's enough about that specifically. Yep. So, what can we spend our money on this this week? So for those that are just one second. So for those that are avoiding spending money on microtransactions, what full wonderful games can we buy?
Well, these are games that I can personally attest to that I've actually played and enjoyed, aren't too expensive. Free Space 2 over on GOG.com is now $5.39. Free Space 2 is it's basically a space sim where it's space combat believe there's, if I remember right, that one has trading in it as well. It's, I suppose you could call it Elite Light, if you must. But it is highly enjoyable, and it does work with a HOTAS. That's a thruster and joystick. So if you got one of those for $5.39, you're good to go. Another game. This one's on Humble Bundle. They've got a deal on Super Hot for $14.99. Super Hot is a strange game. It's a first-person shooter, but the way it works is time moves when you move. So you have bullets being shot at you, but whenever you stop, the bullets almost completely stop. They still very slowly make their way towards you, but as soon as you move, they go full speed again. So essentially, you are going through. It's somewhat of a simulation, and there is a bit of a storyline to go along with it. There's really not much more I can say about it apart from that.
That sounds very interesting.
Oh, it's a really good game. I really enjoyed it. I think I got it maybe last summer or over Christmas. I can't remember which sale it was, but yeah, I played a lot of it whenever I first got it because it surprised me. Cool. Another one. This one is over at GameBillet.com. I've used them a couple of times before, so they are legit. They actually have the Fallout Classic Collection for $4.39. The Classic Collection includes Fallout 1, Fallout 2, and Brotherhood of Steel. Now, Fallout 1 and 2, those are dead-on classics. As long as you can get over the some would call primitive graphics. The storyline is excellent and is good for anybody who's never played them, but maybe has played Fallout 3 or Fallout 4 or New Vegas. Sort of similar vein in the storytelling. Brotherhood of Steel, very mixed bags. Some people like it, like me. I have no problem with it. Other people just despise it because it's a completely different game from Fallout 1 and 2. It's actually more turn-based strategy than anything else. There is a bit of a story to it, but it is more on the strategy side of things. And finally, another one that I have here is from dlgamer.com, and for $12.89 you can pick up Doom. That is the Doom that was released there, was it last year? Or the year before. It's not the original Doom from way back in the 90s. But for that price,
reboot, yeah.
It's the reboot, and essentially it's definitely, I would definitely recommend it. Graphic wise, gameplay wise, it's fast, it's furious, it's guns all over the place, demons, and you know what I mean? It's, I don't know, it's just, it's a good game for what it is, and for that price, that's actually pretty good. You can actually get and the multiplayer is also quite fun. Even I enjoy the multiplayer in it, and I'm not a big fan of first-person the multiplayer aspect, so.
Yeah, I was really actually looking, because I think Steam just had a sale on Doom as well, right?
I think so. Last weekend.
Yeah, because I was actually really considering picking it up. You say it's $12 on this site?
$12.89 on dlgamer.com.
And is this Canadian prices or American prices?
The only one I can say that is Canadian for sure is the one over in GOG.com. I'm not entirely sure. So if for Doom, if it's not Canadian price, then it's going to be, I don't know, maybe $14.
Yeah, it'll be around.
So even
that.
then,
it'll be around $12 somewhere.
Yeah.
Around there too. But yeah, no, Doom is a game I actually was really, I was strongly considering buying this past weekend, but I didn't. But it's something I do want to play in the future for sure. Just mindless killing is always a good time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think that just about does it. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, pretty much I think we've covered everything we wanted to talk about tonight.
Yeah, I think we did. So for those that are in Twitch chat, thank you very much for those that contributed to the discussion. Much appreciated there. Again, if you want to listen to us live, or watch us live, I should say, go to www.twitch.tv/INeverCastForThis, and you can catch us here every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And we usually try to start, actually we were dead on today. I think we were started at 8:31 p.m. Eastern time, something like that.
Yeah.
So we were pretty good. We are also on major podcast platforms. Currently, we are on iTunes. We are on Google Play. We are on Stitcher, and we are also on Castbox. We're looking to get to branch out to a few more platforms, but the major ones are there, so you can find us there as well. Beyond that, we usually upload the audio podcast either by Tuesday, or if I don't have time for Tuesday, then certainly by Wednesdays. But yes, like I said, the live portion will always be on Monday evenings. Beyond that, you can check us on the social media. We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have this VOD will be uploaded to YouTube if you want to check us out there. Where else are we located? All over the place. We're on the internets around the world. So just search I Never Cast for this, and hopefully you'll find us here somewhere. As for myself, I'm Keltharr. Thank you so much for listening today, and Trelard, thank you so much for being on the show once again.
Welcome.
All right, and we will see you all next week. Have a fantastic week, everybody.